Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Leadership Conversation. So, my name is Florian Lung, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And today, I'm joined by the wonderful guest, Martin Gow. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dorian.
It's great to have you on the show. And I know Martin for probably now 8, 9 years. By the time you were at Sigma, and then you had some, journeys with Sigma, with Anevo. Now you're building the Cynics, family group. Tell us a little bit about who Martin is for those that don't know you.
Oh, all right. So I'm born and raised Sweden, Gothenburg. I'm the youngest out of three siblings. I usually joke a little bit about having a mother that's a teacher and a dad that's an engineer, and having two older siblings, a sister and a brother that came out like ace children, right? They were shaped perfectly for the school system, and then I came out with a lot of energy, and that's why actually. I'm super happy to be where I am, having my mom and dad supporting me with my energy as a kid, and then I've been doing this journey, making sure that the energy that I was born with has kind of been used. I learned how to control it and focus it, and that's been my strength so far. And that for the ones that go into my LinkedIn profile, that you'll see like 50% of what I've done there. I've been all over the place, from military service, ski instructor, living in Canada, um, everything I would say.
Volunteering for the rescue forces, in your area. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. I needed to take away that from the LinkedIn profile because it almost looked like not didn't look serious. Yeah, how do you become both a part-time firefighter and a group CEO? But it's like well worth it. I love that job as well.
yeah, but it talks a lot about your values and what you care about, and that you want to bring back value to the community. And what I have seen over the last 4 years now in your latest journey with Scenics, right? I see that's kind of your approach and your value, looking at creating value for both your people, the consultants, but also the clients and everyone involved. So, going through this process with Sigma, Anevo, and now with Cynics, what have you learned from trying to scale up organizations like Cynics?
I would say going back to that, like you need to see yourself that I call myself that a service technician, right? Like what what value do I bring to the table? And it doesn't need to be the same value every leader brings to the table, but you need to be aware what type of value you bring to the table. And that is the same in all organization, I would say. You can copy paste that to product development, leadership, consultancy, service technician, like service leadership, hotel management, really anything. And if I have a customer, if I look into what's the best solution for that person and company, it doesn't need to be my service. And in the long run, that creates a lot of value to yourself as well. That's how you create low personal turnover. That's where you create loyal customers because they always know that you'll recommend what's best for them. And the more work years that I've been working in the industry, unfortunately, you can see that the common sense part of business is not that common as you would expect, I would say. So the red thread in my career, I would say, use your energy to add value. And that is what I try to lecture to also when you have Tekniksprånget, where I meet, people coming out from the high school, thinking about university plans and so on. And I usually sit down with them and talk about that. You know, even if the value that you add is to make a super simple um, assignment or reaching out and helping someone, people will see that in the long run. Even Barack Obama talks about that. So it's not only me, that get things done attitude. I think that's super important to have.
Yeah, and it sounds like your approach in not trying to say that you can solve all problems, and then you kind of know your niche and know your value that you bring to the table as a leader, but also like your place in the marketplace as an organization, right? So instead of trying to say, We can do that, and we can do that, and we can do that, and maybe not offer a very optimal solution to a client. If you refer them to someone else, that builds trust and says a lot about your motivation, and you're not motivated by taking advantage of other people or taking advantage of the situation. And so that's what you say, that this should be the common sense, but it's not so common, right?
And I think it's driven by a lot of things. It could be driven by the the incentive models that you can have in a company, or it could be driven by a lot of things, right? So I think you just need to be aware about the incentive models that you're working with. Uh, Same thing with stock market. Privately owned company towards stock owned companies, of course. Then you usually drive that company for a 3 months like quarterly report, right? That does not necessarily mean that you take the best decisions for a longer horizon. And coming back to that, like big leaders, uh, they talk about this all the time. Um, if it's investment companies, or if it's IKEA as a product company, like all the really successful companies that have the possibility to have a longer horizon, they usually get really, really successful. So it's not really, again, coming back, I think it's common sense, but you need to be aware that there are a lot of things in our society that pushes us to take short-term decisions.
Yeah, especially as you mentioned in the listed companies where you have shareholders that maybe have a different interest and a different driving force than maybe what you would want to do. So what are you the most proud of about Cynics?
Coming back to that, I think the ability that we have been able to scale a company where we focus on the development on as again coming back to the development of the customers that we serve, the people that are working within and creating the value of Cynics. If it's on the management level, or if it's the most important engineering level, or it's the customer level, or it's a competitor level, or if it's a society part of it. I think the most thing I am proud over is that I can almost for all people at Cynics look on things how we have contributed to their career, life in general, I would say, to become a better version of themselves, which we share, right? And I think that is what I'm proud of, and that is my biggest hope when I get old and sit in the rocking chair, as I usually say, to be proud of that, to meet in the grocery store and do a high five with people that, you know, all people won't be the entire life at Cynics. It will be a journey. It will be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, right? But as long as that journey is something that we both look back on with pride, and that we have developed together, that is something I really, really enjoy, you know, visionarying about, and also seeing today that we have achieved. So that's the most part. That's the part I've been the most, or are the most proud over, I would say.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think you just touched on something very important, because sometimes we want people to stay with us along the entire journey. But it's good to be aware of that people will be with us for a season, sometimes for just a shorter season or a longer season, and that's okay. It's part of the journey. And then usually who starts with us is probably not going to finish with us. And then the organization you were like 4 years ago when you started, with Patrick and a couple of other people, and the organization that you are today with 110, employees, then it's a completely different organization. So that's also a realization for so many of us and for leaders, that the need for leadership and the need for the kind of the structure, as you were also mentioning before we got live, that is needed when you scale up, changes and is different, and that's you as a leader need to be flexible and aware of, and adapt to actually to what's needed at this stage.
That's true, and it's hard. I would say the one thing that increases the most, at least in my mind, is that the question that you ask yourself, am I really the right person? Right? When the organization grows, the amount of people that you work with grows, we're becoming more of a global company, represented in US and in Sweden, and looking into other areas of the world as well as it is. Of course, you question yourself a lot. Am I the right leader? And I think, it's not a pleasant thought. It's not a pleasant thought, but I think at least it gives you the perspective to understand that I don't have all the tools in my toolbox to solve the issues or the challenges that we have, and that's why it's so important to, as you said, even in the start, it was me and Patrick kind of came out with a vision plan of it, but we wouldn't have succeeded if we didn't join arms with Johan Ekbeck, Tommy Jansson, Martin Trygg, Simon Strömberg, um, all the people that have created the companies, right? The five subsidiaries that we have. Um, so coming back, I think when you're coming back to the structural changes that needs to happen in the organization when it grows, it's like building a hotel, right? First we have 10 customers, like visitors, and then we have 100, then we have 1,000. Of course, then you need to understand that in the beginning, we could do it all. Then we could clean the rooms, we could be in the reception and the restaurant, but you
Yeah.
need to add people. I will not be the best receptionist. I will not be the best chef, always complement the company with the perfect fit for the next scale and service of the company. I would say one of the biggest challenges that I would say any scaling company has.
And it sounds like the more you grow, the more important the team becomes, right? So at the beginning, it was you and Patrick, which you had the vision, you were kind of the soul and heart of the company. But then as you grow, then that dilutes, right? So then you would need other layers of, management, and as you would say, maybe middle management, to kind of be able to pass on the Cynic's vision in the organization. And then they become more important. So I think the takeaway from that is that switching from, am I, you know, is on me and am I the best person, to asking yourself, who is the best person? What kind of person we need? What kind of profile we need here? What strengths does this person should have? And I give this analogy on building a football team. If you want to build the best football team, you want to have the best individuals on each of those 11 seats, right? And sometimes, because I'm a very good goalkeeper, I may have an unconscious bias looking for people just like me. I want another Florian, I want another Martin, right? And that's a blind spot, because then I end up with a team of 11 goalkeepers rather
Mm,
than a football team. So I think
exactly.
that's, yeah, that I see that as well, and I see that you're very intentional about that and not fall into that trap and thinking about who's the right person that we need on the team right now.
And I think it's really easy to just find someone that are similar to you, right? It's like I would say maybe the same fault that a lot of do in the marriage as well, right? That you try to find a person that are just as you, but doesn't complement you, right? You need to share the same value foundation, and that's kind of parts that needs to be in place. But to find a person that does something that you already do today even better. And that comes back, I would say, where I can see myself, and I guess a lot of people in my situation ends up with if you started up, like if you started up the thought from the beginning, right? It's your kind of your baby, and then you need to let go of the responsibility of parts, or most parts eventually, of the company, from finance to recruitment to sales and so on, taking care of the personnel. You need to be able to let go of the control part, right? Otherwise, you'll become just a big bottleneck, and the best people will leave because they don't like that. You want to hire good people that could do what they're the best at. They don't want to be micromanaged with someone that thinks they know better, but they don't. So I think that's um, for my at least for me, it's I try to let go as much as possible, but it's of course it is a challenge, and I think it's a challenge for most people, especially for leaders that kind of scale up themselves together with other people. If you are brought in as a leader, like recruited as a leader, it's not your. Of course, you take full responsibility, but it's not your baby. You kind of come into an organization that are already set in one way, and then you kind of do some change it of it to the better. But scaling and coming back to that, I think we will continue to see that on all leadership levels, as long as Cynics continue to develop as a company, the leaders already in Cynics, they will need to find the next best person for a part that they cannot really handle or control or need to let go to someone else, and they will have the same challenge in that sense.
Yeah, that's so good. For someone that doesn't know what Cynic does, and what companies you have in the Cynics group, can you give us like the 1 minute summary?
Of course. Now, coming back, I've been doing a career. Super thankful for doing a career in the service engineering part, consultancy, and I thought, it easily becomes what I don't really like the saying, but when you do body shopping, that's like something the worst word I know about, because that's something you don't really want to be. But when um you see a need of something, but you only see a head, like a head count, right? And I didn't really like the way that how people saw consultancy, and what should consultancy companies really do. And I think coming back to added value, and then I saw Patrick, who was my first customer at Ericsson, Tommy, I know, a customer from Sensact Ericsson, Martin Trygg, responsible for big parts of packet core in Gothenburg, Johan Ekbeck, super interested about the electrification journey that we're doing, Simon on the digital and hardware development side, and and um, and then I saw that, what if you could collect the best leaders from the industry level and be able to scale those people with this highly specialized knowledge, um, and create real value for the end customer. So when a customer asks for a solution, you sit down with them, and you actually don't offer him just a person. That it could be super good, a super person, but you also come in with another added value where you can actually contribute with the knowledge. I understand your challenge. I did the same challenges as a leader in transformation at Volvo or Ericsson or Toyota or Hitachi. Um, Let me just bring this kind of knowledge to the table along with great engineers. So we are a consultant company, but with the big difference that all leaders, I'm the only person coming from the consultancy business from the beginning. Everyone else on the leadership skill side comes from real engineering leadership with department managers, line managers from a broad perspective in industries. So a lot of times when the customers reaches out to us, it's both regarding projects where you need to fill up with great engineers, but it's also quite a lot where we have to discuss strategies and already, challenges that we have already met in other industries on the leadership side. So I would say that is still kind of the biggest difference, in our kind of biggest sales perspective, is that that's the extra value that we bring to the table. And now when we see the industry moving more into managed services, where bigger customers are handing out their bigger projects, that value is right now really unique and something that brings back a lot of value to our customers.
Yeah.
So 5 subsidiaries in Sweden, and then
Yep.
in 2 subsidiaries in US.
And who are the typical clients that you serve, or who should know about Cynics and reach out to you if they have a challenge?
Yeah, it's engineering managers, then having challenges on power electronics. It could be out in the automotive industries with batteries and powertrains and things like that. Continuous integration or software factoring, having so electro is one focus area where one is CEO and only focusing on that. We have the software factoring part, continuous integration part, where Tommy Olsen is focusing. We have connectivity with the digital and hardware development, right now supporting Saab very much regarding secret things. We have the embedded side, working with like embedded software from bare metal up to drivers. and we have application that would supports on the cloud, on-premise or on cloud, making that transformation. And coming back, there's a lot of things discussed about AI right now, but we focus how AI can support all the niched parts that we have. How do we work more efficiently with the support AI gives in all subsidiaries? I think that's right now the smarter way of doing it and trying to find new ways of working with it. Just how does it support today? So we do that in all subsidiaries as well as a support function.
Right. And so you're also based, you have an office in the United States, and you're
E-
partnering
Exactly.
with other organizations to have presence globally.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the trick. We have built the company without any external funding or external owners. So it's all the scaling. It's of course challenging, but we are represented in Sweden, in US, and then working with partners in South America and China and India, because all we have 25 customers today, and seven of them at least they want to have a global presence with our global support, and we need to do that with partners when it's suitable. And we talked about that in the beginning. One part that is super important for us to open up offices over the globe is also, we have 21 nationalities in the company today, and some of those, we are working with the greatest engineers that there is. And if we're going to continue to do that, the greatest engineers won't only be in Sweden. They will be in India, in China, Brazil, US, Germany, all over the world. And of course, if we're going to continue to have the reputation having the best engineers, then we also need to have a global presence.
Wow, that's so exciting, and I'm excited about what's coming next, because I've been following your journey from day one, and we've been working together and collaborating. So I'm excited for what's coming next. What would you say that leaders should pay more attention to in today's world? Like, everything goes around us. Where would you say? I mean, where would you want to put your um, focus and interest, but also where other leaders should actually maybe put their focus and interest?
I've been meeting quite a lot of great leaders now, the latest couple of months, I would say. One thing that I would say stands out, and the leaders that I personally really like is the one that are very humble. They and why how can you see that they're humble is that they're interested, right? I would say a genuine interest in the people that you talk to, uh, independent, like they don't really care what title that you have, and most of those times it's kind of funny. I haven't really known what they have been doing, but in the end, you get to know, okay, like the CEO for a company, having 12,500 people, but he acts super professional, but he acts like a friend, or a very humble person. I think that is a key asset, because if you want to lead someone, right, you need to come in from on the same kind of level to have the same dialogue, and because leadership, in my view, of course, it's to lead, and to coach, and to challenge. But if you're really going to be able to lead, you need to have people trust you, and giving the right feedback, being open about what's working and what's not working, and what's on both private parts and professional parts. And of course, if you aren't humble, then people don't open up that much. So I would say continue to be humble. Uh, Understand that to lead is not to only say yes, but you need to be humbled so they can open up, so you actually have a trustworthy dialogue about the real stuff, not what people just share because they don't dare to share what's really in their mind or thought.
Yeah, that's so good. So being genuine and actually being, and you're completely right. As leaders, sometimes if we take a distance from people, then if we are up here and then people are down there, and then they look up to us, this gap kind of stops them from really telling us what we need to hear from them.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
the leader should go, and find the people where they are, not say, "Hey, I'm here, come to me." It's an open door policy. You can come whenever you want, But if you never get out of your office, then people don't come in. So you have to go
Exactly.
to the coffee machine and to the kitchen table or to the water cooler and kind of have that chat with people.
Yeah. And try to be, I think it's a skill, but I think it's also something that you can train to be genuine interested in people and what they do, both technology wise as a company, but how they work and what they do, and be genuine about that. I think that's super important. People feel that. It's they feel if you ask the question because you're trained to ask it. But if
Yeah,
you're actually really interested, genuinely, they will also feel that, and then you'll have a good dialogue, I would say.
yeah. So the question I'm gonna get you out from here is, what are you the most excited about right now? Maybe personal or professional. What's Martin the most excited about?
It's for sure the right now the global scale up that we need to do, both to be able to work with the best people continuously and support the customers that we're having. Like and it's a very big challenge to be continue to be local, having the small company type of kind of feeling, and at the same time scale. But what kind of comes along with the scaling is also that it gives us more opportunities about the in-house projects that we see the market is really pushing through to really that they want us to meet. Then we get more time together and so on. But those parts need to work together, scaling and keeping the local presence in that sense. It's super exciting. It's very challenging in many ways, and both I would say, um, leadership, organizational wise, how we need to work, um, and also on sales perspective, where we have customer that needs to understand that this is what we was and this is what we are, because we've been around for 4 years, and if they think about how we were as a company one year ago, we're not the same company anymore. If they think about how we were 4 years ago, we're a totally different company, better in all ways, but very different, and have a customer to understand that the the company that we are today, we'll be able to support them in even more things, in even more ways, in 1 year from now, 2 years from now. I think that's also a challenge, having both that and also having the same, clarity for the internal personnel, like all employees, how this growth also contribute to their career to be able to career globally and internally. So if you don't like challenges, then it's really hard to be excited within a scaling company. But I like challenges, so I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. And kind of my take on a really good goal or objective is that it has to scare you and excite you at the same time, or
Yeah,
challenge you
exactly.
and excite you at the same time. And it sounds
Yeah,
like the journey you're on, it's both challenging and exciting. And I look forward to follow your path and the journey you're on, and maybe have you back on the show in a couple of years, and you sharing
less
where you're
hair,
at.
bigger company.
Yes,
That's for sure.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you so much, Martin. It was a pleasure having you, and you're very hands-on, very genuine and practical, leadership, and that's what I appreciate. I think that's what makes Cynics special, and that's why people want to work at Cynics. And so thank you so much for giving your time and sharing your experience and your take on leadership, actually.
Thank you very much for it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Take care. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.